All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Doesn't look like anybody else is on with us right
Yeah.
now. Okay, we are gonna go to agenda item number 1.
I'm sorry, I did get an email from Tom Ryder last night. He may not be on tonight.
Okay.
He double booked himself. He did apologize to the board for not realizing he double booked. He said he would try, but if not, we do have his approval letter for the property.
Okay.
For this
So-
147.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see anybody has joined us yet. So I don't think there's any comments on agenda item 1. So we can move on to agenda item number 2, which is 47 Washington Street. Jack, you said you had Tom Ryder's letter of approval.
Yes, a copy of the letter should be with the board.
So that's what
He did review plans and approve the local upgrade for 47 Washington Street.
Yeah, and that was a pretty standard, just offset to groundwater.
Correct.
So, someone want to make a motion?
I hope that we accept the 47 Washington Street local upgrade review and approval.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Tom Ryder. It's nice when you get a relatively easy one. All right, so we'll go on to agenda item number 3, food permit application discussion.
I'll leave that up to you.
Well, it's just a suggestion, something I wanted to bring forward to the board with regards to the annual permit renewals, and it's not just the food permits, it really would be for any permit that the board has the jurisdiction over, to consider, just, and it's really for food, tobacco, and haulers, not necessarily septic installers, because a lot of them don't apply for the permit unless they have a job in the town of Mendon to do, which is understandable. However, the food, the tobacco, and the hauling permits are all annual permits that have to be renewed on an annual basis. Jack sends out the reminders in sufficient time. They all are advised that their permits expire on December 31st. And they're given a time frame to submit their permits for, processing and then for the board's review and approval. I just wanted to have the board consider, when we have delinquent applicants who do not, say like it's December 15th, that is the due date, to consider also including in that renewal notice letter that if they don't submit their applications by that date, that the fee would be doubled. That encourages them to comply so that we don't have stragglers, last minute applicants, or we have an overlap where they're actually operating without a permit for a period of time just because they were delinquent in submitting their permit application.
I think that's a good idea because there's a lot of incentive there.
Well, that's the thing, and the other thing too is that, we've had a few cases now where it's been brought to the board's attention, and Bell's been wrong is the, term that we use, that some may be operating without a permit.
Right now.
Yes.
And that, we know that they're not, so honestly, in fairness to the other license holders, they should not be permitted, whether it's a food application or a tobacco application, that they should be, issued a cease and desist until they get their permitting paperwork to the board.
Yeah, well, now, we're 3 months into the new year. That's
Correct. And we're
pretty-
not
that's pretty-
chasing,
that's pretty behind.
Mhm.
right, and we're not chasing applicants. So, and it's just, and I'll tell you, I've had great success with it, great success with it.
How many are we chasing right now?
3.
Okay. Are they chronic?
No, but they have been multiply reminded.
Mhm. And we've reached out and we've actually spoken with them, actually had a conversation and, two of them, there's two this evening, and then, one that I spoke with, I gave until Friday, and then I would be visiting them on Friday.
And they're mobile. Are they mobile?
No.
Oh, this
These
is,
are businesses,
oh,
yeah.
I don't know, I was thinking.
So just a suggestion to the board, just to put in the letter, and it doesn't mean that they're gonna be double feed, only if they don't
Yeah, they don't
meet the
respond.
filing
Right.
deadline, that's the only way that it would come into play. But this, like, to Joyce's point, gives them the incentive to get it filed by
Do we
December
have the
15th.
power to collect that fee?
Yes,
So it's not a false start?
no,
Okay. I mean, I know paperwork can slow
Mhm.
someone who's, I'll call it a one-man show down. I experienced it myself. But 3 months in arrears is a long time.
thing is that the permit expires on the 31st of the year, so after that, you're actually allowing them to operate without a permit, and I just am concerned for any exposure to the board or the town to liability, should there be some sort of unforeseen and unanticipated
Absolutely.
tragedy.
No, and as you mentioned, in fairness to all the people that get their paperwork
And that's the other.
complete
Mhm,
in on time.
mhm.
And we have actually started sending those renewals out earlier.
I send them out in October,
Right.
and I request them to be in before the first Board of Health meeting, the first one where it lands in December.
Right.
Because that's when I present them all to you for you to sign in December.
Right, and Tom, if you remember, that's a practice that we started a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because we used to get comments that, November and December are very busy months, especially in the restaurant industry.
Mhm.
Right.
And they didn't have time to get all their paperwork incomplete.
Yep.
Completely, so we said, all right, we'll send them out earlier, you can do it in October. And when you get busy in November and December, it's all done.
Mhm. It's not something for you to even, vote on tonight, or just take it into consideration, we have time till, the next renewal. Because you can't, we can't double fee anybody right now, because, it hasn't been, something that number one, the board voted on.
Yeah.
But just food for thought.
Yeah, no, I don't see any reason why we even have to hold off. mean,
I don't
It's a
either,
pretty
yeah.
easy decision to make,
Right.
provided it's, we're not making a false threat.
Right.
I mean, and that's the thing, I mean, if this is what we're gonna do, then this is what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
And we're gonna hope that we never have to do it to anybody, because we're not trying to make it difficult, but
No, it's been my.
stress the importance.
Right.
I mean, 3 months, that's a long time.
And it's been my experience that actually the businesses appreciate that, like that, the acknowledgement or that there will be a double fee and what the due date is. And that gives them the sense of urgency to get their permit applications in on more time than now.
Right, and it's not exactly like they have to write a biblical,
No, just the application and the
It's an-
attachments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean.
Tom, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, I'm not very sympathetic to that, come on. This is your job, this is part of what your job is,
More efficient,
yeah.
too.
Tom?
Well, initially, I like the idea, I like the concept for holding people, lack of a better term, holding people's feet to the fire for getting their permits, their application stuff in on time, so that they are legitimate and they've been approved
Mhm.
for the following year. And the point of liability, that's a very good point. You have somebody out there that might be doing work. I don't know where that would completely legally fall. We probably have to kind of get, counsel's take, but I understand potentially somebody could say, well, what else out there, what people work? I mean, we can't be chasing, we don't have that kind of staff to chase people, but we would follow up on a report, if somebody had mentioned something. Although I'm not sure if I would go the way of doubling fee. I would potentially, unless one carries more weight than the other, potentially want to go the way of assessing it as a fine.
Yeah, you could do a late fee, absolutely.
No, the fee, I mean, because our fee structure is our fee structure. And if somebody's late, now they're stepping outside of their requirements, so now we're gonna hit you with a irrevocable fine. You don't have to pay for it, as opposed to calling it a double fee. So they have to pay the fee and they have to pay whatever we might determine as a fine, being late with the paperwork. Stress that, like you said up front, I'll highlight that sort of thing. That's my thought on on doing what you're saying, as opposed to calling it a double fee. I actually want to stay on the fine world with it.
Okay. I'm fine,
You're fine.
I'm fine with that. I just, I mean, it seems pretty clear cut. So, I mean, if we want to make a decision tonight and not have to revisit this because it'll be taken care of. I mean, obviously, for those 3 people that are in the rears right now, it's not gonna apply to them. But they can certainly be warned that this is coming down the pike.
Well, like Coney says, only in March, there's plenty of time. The cycle doesn't come up for quite a while. So I would think that's my initial thought.
Okay,
Kind of like to ponder it, maybe at least until the next meeting.
okay, that's fine.
Maybe on,
I just want to see, I understand what Tom's saying, I understand what Colleen's saying, but to me, a fine seems like you're in violation of some type of regulation. I believe if we do a findings statute type of thing, we would have to say, now Board of Health applications have to be due on December 1st and make that regulation on all our permits. And if not, that's violation against the Board of Health regulations, food permits, hauling permits, or whatever. Whereas, I believe the calling standard is doubling the fee or the late fee. We wouldn't have to have a regulation or, I don't know, I'm splitting here, so.
no, you're not.
No, that
That's
might
a
be-
very, very good point, because if we were to exercise it as a fine, we probably would have to say, well, why are they being fined? And typically, we're citing a regulation, somebody's violated regulation, that we do fines, right?
Mass general law requires that a food establishment be licensed.
So there you go. So
But who like, but doesn't give a specific date.
No, we're not, yeah, forget about the date, well, yes, I
So
mean,
they
but
could-
in your letter, no, the board can adopt a due date, any date that they would want, and historically, we've sent out a renewal letter and said that the date is whatever you wanted, whatever you determine that date to be, that's the board's purview.
I agree with that, but would that have to be like into the regulation now of the food that we just updated, saying food permits now have to be in by?
No, because under their fee structure, if they don't wanna do a double fee, what the board can do is say, okay, it's $100 fine. You guys vote on it, bam, it's part of the
Well,
fee schedule.
they're operating without a license.
Right,
and that is a violation.
So that's the,
So,
right. So you don't have to adopt a
Okay.
new regulation, it's just that you're adopting a fine. And
that's a
you're-
good point, I mean, you know.
Okay.
well, food code, I'm
Yeah.
gonna assume says that you have to be licensed to operate,
That's
Yes.
right? Whether it's food, tobacco, or hauling, to cover those 3 bases. So
Correct.
if mass law or food code already says that, then the fine is because you're operating without a license.
Well, based on the mass, but we, as a local board of health, could, to Colin's point, we could actually be more stricter. We can implement really what we want. We just can't be any less strict than the state
Right.
guidelines, but we could be more strict.
But if we need to call it a fine, and we need to cite something, the citing food code.
Well, I
and
mean,
the-
it's just within your fee
sanitary
structure, because you
code.
know how like you guys vote to set a fee schedule. So this is just gonna be, you're just gonna amend your fee schedule and adopting now a late filing fine of whatever it is that you guys, right, whatever you guys determine. And that would go for food permits, would go for tobacco, and would go for hauling permits.
Just those 3.
Because because installers, like I said, they only apply for the permits if they have a job in town.
Right, so they have the right
Yeah.
to drag their
absolutely.
feet.
Yeah.
If they don't have anything going on in town.
Right,
Do they?
yes, they don't have to, if they have a job in town, then they have to be a licensed installer. Nothing requires them every year to be
Automatic.
licensed, right.
Yeah, so you know, all of a sudden it's August and one of our installers that doesn't currently have a license, but has licenses in other towns, they can come in and pull a license for Mendon so they can do that job.
Mhm.
And then, of course, they're covered for the rest of the year if something comes along. But a lot of guys, because they could work in 8 or 10 towns, they don't necessarily do that every year on a, repeat basis. So
Makes sense.
they may try to save a little money and,
Right, because years ago, I mean, it was, they all did when the fee, the license fee was, shot money. Now it's a larger, yeah.
and as long, it's not hard to get it, as long as your whole licenses in other towns.
Correct.
If you don't have licenses that are in other area towns, then it's a little more
Then you have to take the
time
test.
consuming to get it, so.
Steve Donatelli gives the test.
Right.
So most guys, they're gonna come in and just fill out the application and do a check, and then they're all set to go. All right, so we'll bring it up again,
Okay,
Good thought.
but, obviously, again, being 3 months in the rears is not acceptable.
So, so I'll bring it up again, it will be in April, middle of April. And it's starting spring, are there events where they go around? I mean, we were talking about the people that were up at across from used to be the Redwood.
Oh, yeah, no, that's different.
Okay.
Those permits are different, like you're talking about for the mobile, yeah, they're gonna, apply for those, either annually or a 1-day permit.
as they go along as well, like septic haulers, unless they have business in town, they're not gonna apply.
Right,
And
Okay.
If they wanna do like an event at at the farm, say, they're gonna apply for a
Okay.
permit. And we have, we monitor
Yeah.
all those events.
Right.
And see, and we've also sent out, an email to those event holders that, they all have to be licensed and they're aware of it.
Right.
And we're working really very closely with Manitowoc right now.
Okay.
Right. What's happening with their parking lot?
Let's stay on topic, please.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Anything else on the food permit application discussion?
Well, just a general question. I know we're working on a revision work for,
Nonprofits?
the nonprofit. That's still in flux.
Yeah, I can put that on with the agenda with the next, board meeting. We do have language.
Because that was related to food permit.
Yeah, we do have language, so I can put that before the board for their review and approval.
Okay, yeah, cool. Awesome, thank you.
All right, we will move on to the next topic. I still don't see anybody in our audience. Lake Nipmuc Task Force update.
Joyce, do you have anything for Lake Nipmuc?
Well, what's happened was, this is the second meeting that didn't get posted, so we're now, we decided that really, it was early anyway, so we'll meet in April.
Okay, no problem. But I am in talks with Dan Byer about the additional testing for Lake Nipmuc, on the additional testing at the beach area and the other surrounding areas. He's worked with Microbac, Brayton Dome. He's trying to get pricing from them and give us a total balance of what it would cost us to get everything done for testing for the current season
Great.
coming to an end plus coming up. So I should have that also for the next board meeting.
Thank you for working with Dan on that. Nice collaborative effort between BOH and Parks. Anything else on that topic?
No, just be contingent upon, if the task force kind of having further discussions, and once that happens, then we'll get more details.
All right, so we'll.
I will be able to report on that.
All right,
Look forward.
so we'll move on to the next topic, Mendon Old Landfill update.
Okay, I was speaking with a Mark Hagee from Atlas, who was out on the site of the property on Friday, March 22nd, to conduct the quarterly soil gas well testing. I asked about the vent monitoring well, SG number 2, that we all noticed. And he responded that the standpipe out of metal is bent slightly. The sole gas point inside constructed of PVC with an adapter at top to screen. This has been also but not broken. If you start to mess with it, it may break. And he recommends that we honestly recommend to leave it as is for now.
Oh, good.
I like that. And he's the gentleman that I met with early in the spring.
Correct.
Very nice gentleman, very knowledgeable. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, so he was able to get his testing, monitoring done on that well. He goes, but don't mess with it.
Okay.
And he broke, don't fix it.
That's
I
right.
was just gonna say that. My nanny used to say that. all
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the
that's my
Yeah.
that's my father's notice up on that.
Okay, now, the only other thing I can think related to the Mendon landfill is, do we have that access agreement nailed down?
I sent,
I was gonna say, I did wanna just mention as part of that discussion, and I know Jack was on the email thread, I did follow up with Jennifer, saying, this is Jennifer and Mark were part of the thread about discussing the wellhead, the damaged one. I just wanted to let her know that we as a board had reviewed her proposed access agreement, and we did have discussions with town council, that the board has opted to go with town council's access agreement proposal. And so what will happen is once that's finalized and signed, we'll just make sure that they have a copy of it on file.
Okay, now, did I sign that?
no, because I sent an email for Karen's follow-up. There were a couple of revisions that needed to be edited. I have not received that final version from Karen as of yet, so I'm still waiting on that.
Okay, I couldn't remember if we signed it conditionally,
No,
those changes. Okay, so that still is,
it's still in Karen's and town council's hands, and so have that on the next board of health agenda.
And I believe we did vote to just have your signature.
Mhm.
Correct.
Use it directly. Yeah.
Mhm.
We didn't all have to sign it.
So if it does come in, like maybe tomorrow, or whatever, I can just let you know, and you can just come in and sign it.
absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else on the landfill? All right, let's move along to BOH admin updates.
All right, I got to change it, so it's gonna be a little while.
How many?
2. It's been a busy 2 weeks.
Take your time.
All right, so on Monday, March 18th, I sent Blackstone Valley Tech, Norfolk Aggie, and Nipmuc High School the 2024 scholarship application. I also placed it on the Water Health website and sent out a news announcement alert, so hoping we get a good return on those scholarship applications. On March 18th, after talking with Eric Kinsheriff of the town accountant about the enterprise account on the ATM warrant, the Board of Health needed a second article to the warrant to raise the appropriate of the funds. I emailed the second article to both Laura St. John Dupree, the executive assistant to the town administrator, and the select board, Michael Raleigh, the chairman of the select board. Laura responded and said that she would add it to the warrant, and it has been updated to the current annual town meeting warrant. On Wednesday, March 20th, I received an email from Michael Marchand Sr. stating that there is a trash hauler called Brothers Disposal providing services roll-off dumpster on Route 16 and Park Street. I reached out to the trash hauler and informed them that they needed a trash hauler's permit in the town of Mendon, and I have received the application and payment this past Monday, and they are now licensed trash hauler in Mendon.
Thank you, Mr. Marchand, for bringing that to our attention.
Well, in the same email, it was also stated that there are porta potties located on the NEFC field on 33 Cape Road that were not licensed in Mendon. I reached out to Brian Mazar, president of the NEFC and also the vendor of the porta potties. Reminded them both that the vendor has to be licensed as a septic hauler in Mendon, and I also have received their application and payment, so they now a septic hauler in Mendon.
So
Okay.
Thank you again, it's nice to have some ice out there.
Yeah.
is there a mixed use of vendors on that property?
No, it was, he got a porta potty company to replace what Marchand had on the property.
Because I thought. when we had
ADC
those
was in the middle,
ADC was in the middle,
right?
but during the winter, they take them away.
Right.
And after the new season, they got a new vendor.
Okay, so, because I knew we had ADC.
Yeah, we had ADC, yeah.
That was temporary.
That was temporary,
Ah,
because that during the winter season, when the field's basically closed,
yeah,
they haul them away, so they're not paying for them. The season when they're not used,
so they have to go with someone else.
they go with somebody else. Because they needed somebody that would do services on the weekends, and ADC couldn't accommodate that every weekend.
Yeah.
So this vendor could do it for them, but unfortunately they weren't licensed.
Who's the vendor?
Royal Porta Potties,
Royals?
yep, out of northeastern Massachusetts.
You know? Okay.
But I contacted them, I believe on Thursday, and got the agreement or the application came in on Monday.
If you happen to be driving by and need a throne, you know their license.
Is there a king and a queen?
All right.
On Thursday, March 21st, I received an email from Brian Mazur at NEFC Field. He's in the process of enhancing their outdoor soccer facilities by installing permanent restrooms. He stated that he has no access to town water nor septic, seeking clarification regarding the necessity of a public water supply well for the proposed restroom facilities. His plan entails the installation of toilets only, without any concession stands nor water bubblers. He wanted to inquire whether it would be permissible to forego the inclusion of restroom sinks altogether, as they would have hand sanitizing stations in lieu of the sinks. I did speak with Joe Sakili, the Men's Plumbing Inspector, and he did confirm that the restroom facilities can have just toilets without a sink, as long as 1, maintain and upkeep hand sanitizing stations, 2, have no concession stands or food served on the property, otherwise potable water will need to come into play, and 3, have no permanent seating. So it can be done with toilets only without potable water, as long as those 3 bulleted items are established. I even confirmed with Tom Ryder, and he said it is doable.
Okay.
So now they don't need a septic system because they're on town, they have a town sewer thing,
They don't have anything yet,
but
but they'll have to go for
it does
well.
go by though, that isn't,
The Hopedale water, they can't get.
not Hopedale water, I'm talking about how are they going to get rid of the sewage?
They're gonna have to put a septic system in.
Yeah, they can make plans.
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah, they have to get a designer to
And
get
they're
it.
not gonna drop a well too, but what Jack just read too, just for the board's clarification, that's with regards to the plumbing code. That's what the plumbing code states.
Well, from my standpoint, I'd be from a health perspective, I would defer to say yourself.
Well, Jack and I have been working on it together,
So
so I
what
think
is-
he has a little bit, we have a little bit more to read on that. No? Did you tell him that we, about,
No, John Emerson, I have not spoken to John Emerson.
well, so, 521, that's the architectural access board, that actually also addresses public, toilets
Yeah.
and the need for, sinks, and wheelchair accessibility, so that's something John Erickson's gonna have to weigh in on as well. And that's not from the board perspective. For our perspective,
Sanitation is,
Mm.
well, you can use hand sanitizer in lieu of water, and, Jack and I researched it, and we came up with, it has to, the hand sanitizer has to contain 60% alcohol. And you should also, advise them of that, which we're going to, but also, we should have how to use hand sanitizer posted. And, and also any disclosures, and in this case too, is the disclosure that, hand sanitizer doesn't remove harmful chemicals like pesticides and things like that, so that would also be part of our disclosure. But before, they even get here, they need to, look at the septic system, drop a well, they need to test the well water, and then also whatever John Erickson has to say.
Well, if they're going to have a well, why wouldn't they just,
Just Jack and I said the same thing.
because
Does the PWS come into play
It may.
if they're washing their hands? Because if they're not only washing their hands, they would have the ability if someone drank the water.
Mhm.
So if they don't have that opportunity available, if it's toilets only, they probably don't have to be a PWS. That's my thought.
No, I believe you are correct, because it's the same situation here when our well wasn't working and our sinks were shut off at the valves, preventing us from washing our hands because DEP was afraid we'd be drinking water out of the sink.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But
even
that
if
may
you just
come
wash your
into
face
play.
with it,
Yeah,
Right,
you could ingest some of it.
correct.
yeah, and there's gonna be young children, but and if that all may come into play, should, the building commissioner advise them that, because of the requirements under, the architectural access, that they may have to have a sink, so that's not something,
Yeah, because I don't know how that would play with, ADA, right?
right? So we're waiting for John, well, and I think Brian's waiting for too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they are gonna use, hand sanitizer, they're gonna have to have it in a permanent structure so that somebody's not walking off with it all the time and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, we haven't even seen the plans for it
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
He, as a matter of fact, he responded back to you and said that they were revising the plans.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, because John Ryder mentioned that they submitted plans several years ago, and because of the water supply system, they put it on hiatus. They went to porta potties.
Hmm.
And that board remembers those plans from several years ago.
Yeah, I can't say I recall myself.
I thought I remember something about, septic design, but that's pretty vague.
And we probably have them on file, because that field wasn't that old. We got it.
Yeah, you can always check that address and see if there's anything in the folder.
Yeah, on the
There
computer.
may be something in the folder.
Mhm.
Yeah, here I am, pen and paper. Excuse me.
Hey, I'll apologize.
Computer.
In regards to the 3537 Hasten Street project, Tom does have some comments he would like to make. He's gonna formalize it and send it to the Board of Health and the planning department, just to give his comments on the
Is
plans.
the planning board aware that
Yes,
that's in the?
yes. I
Works.
spoke to Dylan and Isabella.
Okay.
For what I was writing, so I didn't deal with.
Tom Ryder, the board asked us to submit the plans for 3537 Hastings Street that's being done up there,
Yeah,
to give it to Tom to have him
Right.
review for his comments and
good,
questions.
yes.
So he's working on that, he's just gonna formalize it and send it to us.
And I believe there's a timeline.
They gave us an extra month for finishing comments, so that was what, 2 weeks ago?
Yep. So
Yes.
it's saying like, what, the 16th or 20th of April?
Mhm.
Okay.
If you don't see anything and it's winding down a week before the deadline,
Mhm.
just send them a reminder only because.
Well, I did send him a reminder on a few things yesterday, and one of them was about that, and that's when he said, I just gotta put it into a little thing for you.
But
But
it's just a
remind
case.
him again, yeah.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
gets very, very busy.
Oh, God, he does get very busy.
Yeah, I don't know how he
Many
does
different directions.
Yeah.
So McGowan's point could come close, and if this is, I just want to make sure that we have on the record the appropriate comments for this
Mhm.
project as well.
Yep.
From our perspective.
During the same conversation with Tom Ryan, I also mentioned the tight tank letter that we were working on. He said he was gonna give me a sample of an operation and maintenance plan. So I'm still waiting to hear back from that. And I do have about 4 days that me and Colleen will be out of the office, because we'll be at training. Wednesday, April 3rd, we'll be in Blackstone for partnership meeting. I'm sorry, we'll be in Douglas for a Blackstone partnership meeting between 1 to 4. Monday, April 8th, Colleen and I will be in an active shooter training in Northbridge from 1 to 4. Saturday, April 8th, yep.
Yep.
Saturday, April 20th, obviously we're not gonna be on the weekend, but Colleen and I are going to the Mass Association Health Board Conference in Marlboro. And on Wednesday, May 1st, Colleen and I have a biohazard safety training in Waynesville from 9 to 1.
What's the Mass Health Board thing, what date is that?
That is Saturday, April 20th.
I've done the active shooter thing. I did it in Grafton.
Yeah,
It was excellent.
Well, there,
very, very good.
and that's all I have for my updates.
Okay,
Would you do us a favor?
Of course.
Just because you have a nice summary of all those things.
Yep.
And I wasn't writing that fast. Could you email that?
Of course.
Summary to all of us, that way we can always kind of print it out or have it as a summarized reference, so we
Yep.
don't have to worry about it. That's great, awesome.
Any other comments on that topic? All right, the only thing I'll say is thank you for taking the time to stay involved with the world.
oh, yeah,
Much appreciated because you can always feed some of that stuff back to us. All right. Health agent updates, please.
So, with regards to 40 North Ave, we did speak with the property owner's attorney. He did not receive our letter Apparently we had the incorrect email address, so after speaking with him, he provided us with his email address and we sent it over to him. And he's gonna discuss it with the property owner, but he's aware of, you know, the situation with regards to the septic on site. And, they have not conveyed the property.
Yeah.
But the attorney is aware of it now, so there's a record of it.
Okay, I did notice someone dropped about a yard.
I saw that, yeah, but, and I was like, so I stopped there, you know, and I go over and I look and, cause I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna start seeing something here. No, I didn't see anything, I don't know if they put that there as a buffer, like when they park the
That was
car.
my thought.
All right, that, okay, well, we can only go to right here, you know, and I was like, well, it's not a bad thing, but I look at it all the time and I haven't seen anything. And
Well, at least we're making progress. We've
Right.
got the attorney's attention and we've got a direct line
Yes.
of communication that can go both ways, so that's good.
And the end result is this, is that even, you know, the property, even if it's conveyed, there's going to be funds that are either gonna be withheld or we're gonna enter into some sort of an enforceable agreement where a new system will be installed. So that's the promise, you know, that's the, you know, like working towards the compliance, you know, step by step forward progress. The attorney was receptive, it was a nice gentleman, so
Good.
he'll keep us informed. 10 Northbridge Street, I actually stopped there today. There wasn't any breakout or anything, but we haven't had confirmation from the engineer that the property owner told us that he in fact had engaged and he had, you know, that hasn't happened yet.
I suppose there's gonna be a land plan.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
She said that she did resend the agreement to him, but has not received it back.
And I also reached out to him late this afternoon, and, you know, I haven't heard back from him, but I'll keep the board
Which
advised.
him, are you?
The property owner for
Okay.
Northbridge,
Property,
yeah.
okay, I didn't know whether you're talking about land planning.
No, oh, no.
I didn't know.
The property owner,
Right.
and he's been decent about staying in touch too. And again, that's another, property that, you know, step by step, it will comply. You know, it's just the process that we have to go through. And I think by this point in the game, that we can all mutually agree that the property owner knows that he has an issue and that the board is aware of that issue and the board is going to, you know, work with them towards compliance.
And unfortunately, because of all the rain we've had this year, I mean, it must be really
So many
problematic.
septic systems.
Unbelievable, I know,
So
you know.
So that's ongoing and we'll keep on monitoring that. 43 Blackstone Street, there's been no response, no action. Jack and I actually sent it to town council for advice on how we should proceed. You know, it's been my experience in the past that a letter from council to the property owner, sometimes they realize, oh, okay, I can't ignore
Yes,
this
there
any
is.
longer. If that's, you know, what town council tells us to do, but just looking for some guidance from council before we take another step.
My drive-bys, I haven't seen any conditions change as far as occupants.
No, not at all, it's actually,
There's
it's,
one car and maybe,
Right.
you know,
It's been
very little
status
activity,
quo.
but someone is definitely living there.
yeah, there's no doubt about that.
But,
But there hasn't been any, you know, any remarkable changes to the property at all. Not at all.
okay.
Yeah, I just got a reminder. BOH is meeting at 6:30 today.
What is it?
Board of Health is meeting at 6:30 today.
Oh,
55 Hatfield Avenue West, I visit that property regularly and, the, administratrix is taking the garbage from up around the house and has been, you know, duly putting it curbside.
I did drive by this afternoon and there's a 30-yarder there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take notice to whose 30-yarder it was. And the backyard up a level was pretty congested, so I don't know if that's stuff coming out of the house that's gonna go in the dumpster, but I definitely saw a dirty yard or in the driveway today.
I was gonna drive by tomorrow morning, cause tomorrow was garbage day, so then I'll make note of that, I'll actually walk up and see.
Yeah, see who the hauler is too. Like
Yeah.
I said, I didn't pay enough attention to see who the hauler was, just to make sure that they're licensed in town.
Okay, I'll absolutely, I was gonna go by anyway, cause their garbage day is Thursday.
Thank you.
And then, just so the board is aware. You. For you,
Thank you.
and for you. So the other day, I went into DB Mat
Where
to,
is that?
the one right on the corner of, 16, right by the light.
Oh,
Yeah.
right over there.
Yep.
Okay.
I went into DB Mat, to purchase a pack of cigarettes for a friend. And, I went up to the register and I asked for a pack of cigarettes. And the clerk gave them to me, but, she did not ask me for my ID. After completing the transaction, I asked her, I said, first I identified myself. And I was actually going in there to purchase a pack of cigarettes for a friend. This wasn't,
Yeah,
any
that's
type
good
of.
anything, right.
Well, no, it was not. It
No
really-
stain.
No, it was not. It was not at all. I identified myself. I asked her why she didn't ask me for my ID. And she said, oh, you've been in here before purchasing cigarettes. I said, no, I have not been in here. I've been in here before, but not purchasing cigarettes. And she tried to say, oh, well, whatever, reasoning that she was providing me at the time. And I asked her to contact the business owner. And I spoke with the business owner on the phone and I advised him of what had just occurred. And he proceeded to advise me that, he contacted the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and they advised him that if you look like you're older than 27, then you don't have to have them, which is not the case. And it's also it was at one time. But it's a violation of our tobacco regulations, period, end of the story.
Now, you say our tobacco violation, our tobacco, meaning the Board of Health.
Local,
Local.
right, and it states it right in the tobacco regulations. And so I just, I thanked her and whatnot, came back, Jack and I discussed it, and Dan, the health inspector, was actually going out there to follow up on a reinspection for something else, and when he came back, he also advised us that he witnessed the same clerk sell a pack of cigarettes to someone and not ask for an ID. So
Whoa,
anyway, lo and behold, the letter went out with the fine,
right.
advising that it is a second violation. And that, according with the, tobacco regulations, the board now will have to have a hearing with them. Because as a second violation, in addition to the $250 fine, there's a 7-day revocation. And we have to give them sufficient notice of the date of the hearing, so I put in the letter April 10th. And the owner can come before the board and it will be up to the board's pleasure as to whether or not you revoke their privilege to sell cigarettes for 7 days in accordance with the regulation.
Would the owner themselves have to appear, or could they have a representative appear for them?
Well, that's something that I have seen it before where, they can name an agent to appear, but in this case and for this reason, I would suggest to the board, which is my suggestion, that you actually have the owner present,
I think that makes sense too.
not an agent.
Yep.
So.
Do they have to comply with that suggestion, just out of curiosity? Or would they have a legal right to send a legal representative?
They could send an attorney if they wanted to.
I'm just curious.
Right, but I mean, yeah, sure, a legal representative is a legal representative.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, the board, I wouldn't recommend challenging that, but if they sent, so Jack can pick up on the story, because he spoke with the,
The owner this morning.
right,
So the owner this morning came in, he did pay the fine with $250, but he did mention that, that he'll be out of town on April 10th. But he would like the board's consideration of not suspending his license for the 7 days, as it's considerable revenue for him and he's trying to provide for his family. And so I said I would mention it to the board for their review. to decide if, one, we want to have a later date for the hearing, or do you want to vote on suspending it, not giving him a suspension, or how the board wants to handle that situation.
And he did mention that he was gonna be out of the country, right?
He'll be out of the country.
And he wanted his son to come and appear before the board on the 10th instead.
He's got money to travel.
I would not be opposed to meeting with him on the 24th.
Yeah.
Him personally. That's my
Yep, the
thought.
24th will be the next meeting.
Oh,
Because, I mean, I don't want to vote on a suspension without hearing his side of the story. But on the other hand, I don't want to just let it go either, where this is already the second violation in this.
In the same
Timeframe?
day.
The time frame is 36 months. His first violation was in October of last year.
Okay.
Yep.
So October to April is 6 months, not even 5 months. So we really need to get his attention. And, you know, advise him. And then hear what he has to say and then make a decision as to whether or not we suspend the license. So I'm willing
So
to
the-
accommodate his vacation.
So the license suspension is 7 days.
And the board can determine those 7 days, 7 consecutive days.
Last October, what was the violation?
Is that just a fine?
Okay. So, and,
I can read you the regulations.
no, what was, sorry, what was the violation? What was that?
The cigar humidor was not locked.
Okay, that's what okay, just want to make sure. So,
He did mention that his employees were at fault. He
Yeah.
does admit that. But he says he's just hoping that the board would not revoke his license for 7 days.
well, we won't revoke it today, but I think he should come in on the 24th.
Yeah.
Tom?
Well, I'm just trying to, basically, you've outlined it very well in here, what our regulations are. It's so specific, I guess I drew an assumption from letter B, that in the case of the second violation, fine of $250 and the tobacco product sales permit shall be suspended. It sounds like that is simultaneous. So I'm taking that that's in effect immediately.
No, you have to have a hearing, you have to go back to the regulation and read that they have to pay the fine first, and then there has to be a hearing with the individual and the board,
Okay.
and then the board votes whether or not.
Down at the bottom line, see the bottom, line, last line.
On the very bottom. Okay. Yeah, so that being the case, then I'd be okay with wanting to meet him first, hear his side. I think that's probably fair. I mean, after all, we try to keep in mind that the board has to be open to a potential appeal. Where you're out, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're implementing fines and, you know, based on what you're seeing, what people are doing and not doing. So, and it's just an opportunity for them to come before to appeal to the board. And then, I think that would be a fair thing to do. No, it doesn't necessarily mean I would not go that way,
Right.
because history kind of plays in here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on the board long enough that unfortunately this address has come up. So we'll,
All right, so I did leave with him saying I would present it to the board tonight, and whatever your decision is tonight, I will be emailing him tomorrow morning what that decision is. So I'll email him saying that the 24th of April would be his date to meet the board.
So this would be,
and we want him.
Correct.
because it's a public hearing situation, this would be a posted type of public hearing, that
No, it's a hearing, just, you know, in accordance with the tobacco regulations.
okay.
I don't believe that there's any posting requirement for.
Typically, when we think of public hearings,
Right,
we
we're
think
changing
about
the
having to post
regulations.
them
Right.
so that people can attend.
Mhm.
For awareness, I just didn't know if that public posting.
I mean, this doesn't say public hearing, it just says hearing.
A hearing,
Right, no, I'm just thinking when you talk about, all right, so we're not, so public, it's really not public, just.
it is public because this is a public meeting.
Gotcha, but it's not a.
Other than
Not
that,
advertised.
It's not like for,
There you go,
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Yep.
Yep,
The other thing to think about too is that, I mean, I don't know what his time frame for his trip is to be out of the country, or for how long, and it's say like the 24th is not, he's still gonna be out of the country.
Right.
The board can continue it to the next meeting to May and have him appear at that time as well. And then to decide upon the revocation, and the board determines those 7 days as well.
Joyce, what you thought?
I mean, I think that we could do that. I mean, to me, that makes sense. You know,
Are you amenable to going beyond the 24th of April?
If we have to go to the next meeting, I mean,
if he's not in the country, I mean.
Right,
and
that's the
and
thing.
We actually want to deal with him, not his son, I mean, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's not gonna
ideally,
change
I'd
anything.
like it to be the owner,
I beg your
that's
pardon?
what I'd
Right.
like to.
Yeah,
I just don't
Right.
wanna see it. I wanna see a series of excuses. That's all.
well, I mean,
well, we can ask him right up front.
eventually we're
When
gonna have
when he
to
coming back.
do something, and he can come in afterwards and represent himself if he wants to, but we can't, we're trying to accommodate him within reason.
Well, yeah, so within reason, but, the reason has to work both ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want him to say, I'm gone for 3 months.
Right, that wouldn't fly.
well, in all honesty, can he not join in Zoom if he was out of the country and join from Zoom? Or
Sure,
wherever he
that's a
is,
great idea. That's a
and have the
great
hearing
idea.
via Zoom.
Yeah,
That's a great thought,
Great
So
job.
I'll give him the 10th.
if you'd like that.
If he's not on the 10th, I'll give him the 24th. I should have an answer by our next board meeting, let you know what we decided.
Mhm,
He may be back in the country on the 24th.
well, even if he was in the country, he still has that option.
Yeah,
mhm,
so I will, when I send the email, I'll ask for a response back and when he's back.
mhm. Great point.
Yeah, given we have the remote capabilities.
That's right,
Correct.
Good thinking.
right.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You're almost there. You almost there.
Wow,
You must have ate your Wheaties this
I
week.
did,
And
Could be
he
that
had the-
cookie.
he had the cookie. Yeah.
great.
Spur you on.
Other than that, we're pretty busy, based upon his report, and also with, food truck reviews and, inspections. Mendon Drive-In is gonna be opening up on April 12th, and went and inspected them today for, their opening. They're very excited, I'll be going back there, they had an issue today with, hot water.
To meet with the Haynes,
Mm-hmm,
nice kid. huh?
mm-hmm, yep,
Now, that septic system is a very sophisticated system.
mm,
It is,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
It's a one of a kind almost, because of the volume of water that they use in a short period of time.
Mhm.
Everything good down there?
mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, they're low.
Maintenance.
No, not that, I mean, their menu is not a critical menu. You know, it's,
Hamburgers, hot dogs, popcorn.
Popcorn.
yeah, French fries, all that,
Yeah,
quick stuff,
hot, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
okay. But I was just curious, thinking of septic systems and maintenance plans
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that. I know that system was a very sophisticated system.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great, I mean, really, they have it down to a science,
Good,
there's no doubt about that. Look forward to working with them.
yeah, they're fun guys.
That's all I have, vision reports.
All right,
Cool.
anything else on that topic?
Nice job.
Community service announcements.
anybody have any?
Oh, I have a couple ones, didn't know if anybody else had any.
Hit me.
Did
Go
you?
for it.
Huh? All right, total of 5. I'll keep it short. The first one, mostly come from DVH office, local and regional public health. First one, for the general public, effective March 1st, DPH Community Sanitation Program, known as the CSP. They have amended 105 CMR 430. CMR for the general public is our Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations. This specific one is titled Minimum Standards for Recreational Camps for Children.
Mhm.
So what they're doing as a high-level overview, the amendments fell into 3 categories: administration and consent to administer medications at medical specialty camps, supervision and operation of specialized high-risk activities, and the third category was in minor technical changes. If anyone is of any interest, has any questions, they can contact Kerry Wagner, Kerry. That's at kerry.f, as in Frank, .wagner@mass.gov.
Tom Rogers here.
Yeah, excellent. Let's talk. Second one I have from the DPH. This one came out on the 20th. Department of Public Health launches a health equity plan to address racism as a serious public health threat. Just briefly, Massachusetts Department of Public Health has launched a strategic plan to advance racial equity in all the work DPH undertakes and oversees, providing an action-oriented roadmap to address underlying concerns that have perpetuated health inequities across the state. DPH's plan recognizes the pervasive and destructive impact of racism on health and centers race equity across all its work, programs, practices, and initiatives. Basically, a part of the objectives would be the plan implements a data equity framework to address health inequities in Massachusetts, supporting all staff participation in a racial equity training series with the goal of 85% of managers and 60% of non-managers completing the training, improving DPH's procurement systems, and establishing a DPH cultural assessment / racial equity staff survey.
Yes, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Tom?
Obviously not.
Sign language. Yeah, so if anyone has any more questions, needs more information, again, it's up on mass.gov. Now I had update also from DPH, updated respiratory illness recommendations for the general public.
Yeah.
These are all in Euro.
Mhm.
So they basically wanted us to, they're writing to inform us that the DPH has reviewed CDC's recent guidance regarding respiratory virus isolation strategies. DPH has updated its recommendations for the general public to prevent the spread of respiratory viruses. And there's a link that they can go to up on mass.gov, and the link is titled "Staying Home to Prevent the Spread of Respiratory Viruses." One additional note that the guidance for healthcare settings has not changed. It stays the same. All right. This one just came through today from the local regional health. It regarding increasing global and domestic measles cases and outbreaks, ensuring that children in the U.S. and those traveling internationally 6 months and older are current on MMR vaccination. If memory serves me correct, MMR is measles, mumps, rubella.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You were paying attention about getting that stat.
Hey, I did not Google it. On March 18th, 2024, the CDC.
All right, Tom, just hang on.
He's getting some feedback.
Yeah. That's your business. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure this out.
And domestic increase in legal cases, and to provide recommendations about how to reduce the occurrence of new
There we go.
legal cases and outbreaks. I was just flashing in my head was the movie,
Still can't hear you.
Oh,
Was it
yeah,
Yankee Stadium?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, now?
Yes,
where it
that,
says I
yeah.
feel
Can you
the
hear us?
luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Yes.
I'm still getting yours.
We get his audio now, though.
Yeah, we heard him.
Is he better than?
You know, it's still
What's going on?
Looks like your mic is mute.
Is it muted on the tube?
What's that? Hello? Hello? Hi. No, there's some type of system set up in the conference room. My computer's supposed to be on mute.
Put them on speaker on your phone,
Hold on.
and then you can talk to the board.
There you go. Oh, you're on speakerphone.
All right, well, this is the old fashioned way, huh?
Well, we can see you,
You look good.
so you look good.
Look good for, turning 55.
Happy birthday.
Thank you,
Happy birthday.
Today?
thank you.
Today?
It's actually tomorrow.
Oh. Happy birthday.
Do we sing?
I'm
No.
afraid what my daughter has in store. She's asking me, are you gonna be at work between these hours? I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on?
Yeah. Double nickels.
Yeah,
All right, so we'll let Tom ride
Yeah,
out.
we'll let him jump in.
All right, so go ahead, Tom Ryder.
it's good seeing you guys. It's been a while.
Thank you.
I do have some comments on the, it seems like elderly housing and, some sort of,
That should be a different agenda topic.
You should, but
oh, is it not?
Well, are we referring to 3537 Hastings?
Correct.
Yeah,
Which is not on the agenda specifically.
right, but
all right, I'll just send over, like a memo or something, and then you can look at it then.
okay, was it anything drastic or just some general concerns?
Just general, it's just not really clear on what kind of flows, wastewater flows is gonna be, and they're talking about, being approved under Title V, so that kind of remains to be seen.
Okay,
And just, stuff like, is it gonna be restaurants? trash pickup and things like that, what kind of circulation we got. Does Mendon have, it just has private pickup? Or is it town-wide pickup?
On the commercial site, that would be, private.
Yeah, but for the residential units, would that be private?
To be honest with you, I don't know. We don't have a development that I'm aware of like that.
Well, it's not split between both commercial
Right, yeah,
and
yeah.
residential.
Yeah.
Right.
But
No, we do have those, off of Dudley Road. We do have those duplexes or triplexes. Dudley Road is the street, off of Pinecrest and Hopedale. You have to go into Hopedale to get to it.
Yep, okay.
And then he had a piece of land, which would be, across from the drive-in,
Right.
in behind there. That he ended up, those were duplexes or triplexes, because that's when we were talking about shared wells.
Correct.
So I don't remember the name of the street, but I don't know if we're picking that up.
More is.
If Harvey's picking it up, no, it's not Moore.
Oh, that's in Hopewell.
Bowery?
No, it's not Maury. It's, like I said, it's a street off of Dudley Road. It's probably
Below?
dead
Oh,
end.
no, that's Hopedale.
No, it's off of Dudley Road. It's none of those. Those are all Pinecrest addresses.
Is it West something?
I don't remember what he called it. That was, Bedrosian. That,
Dudley, Brookview,
okay, so Brookview, do we pick Brookview up?
we do have Brookview,
Alright, so-
subscribers.
Okay, so if we pick Brookview up, then I would say the residential portion of this project
Correct.
would be similar to that.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, and to answer you, Tom, I would say that the residential section of that project would be similar to the project, Brookview Road, which was, multiple homes that were attached. That has already been built. I would say trash pickup would be similar unless the developer was gonna do something different.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess those are comments on, make sure that's addressed. Restaurants, kitchen designs and things like that, what kind of flows we're gonna have. We did do soil testing, Lenny witnessed those. Maybe some confirmatory test pits before construction.
Yeah, I actually witnessed all of them.
Okay, so if you forward that information, to Jack, we'll get it over to planning and, we'll get you some answers.
Yep.
All right, so while you're on, if you want to talk about 47 Washington Street, the local upgrade, distance to groundwater.
Yeah, so, Seth LaJoy, he did the plan, and it's just a, offset to groundwater, some repair. He's got some grading he needs to do, so it meets the requirements for a, local upgrade. He meets all the other offset requirements.
All right. So we voted already to accept that based on your letter.
Okay,
So we're good.
all right.
Sorry it was so much effort for you to tune in, but have a great birthday tomorrow. I'm dying to know what your daughter pulls off.
Happy birthday to you.
For my 30th, because it was in a different town, they hired a belly dancer to come in. Yeah.
Very good.
She came in and she started to ask me questions about Title V. She said, I really don't understand. Can you, let's go to another room. And you can, bring some plans and we can go over it with me. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense, okay? And there was a crowd of people there.
There you go. And I bet you were red as a beet.
What's that?
I bet you were red as a beet.
Yeah.
Red as a beet.
Oh, yeah,
You were fairly embarrassed.
I was, yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, you'll have to make sure that you let us know what she pulls off tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Good night. All right. So that's good. So we got kind of a little information on what he's looking for.
Yep.
Which is good. And the question about the trash.
But he was talking about Lenny having done those perk tests,
Mhm.
but Lenny didn't do those perk tests. Stephen and I did them.
Okay, because I remember I saw you on the property on Washington Street.
I was
Right.
there that every single
Yeah,
shovel.
okay. So we're a little confusion, but we're good.
Yeah.
Well, him and Lenny were up there at one point.
Well, that was back in the day. That was
Well-
when they were doing the final testing for this.
Yeah, actually, they were involved in the initial processes, before you got involved. So
Because
they,
wasn't
so
Lenny-
him and Lenny did go, was when Lenny was, I know had some trouble walking, so we asked Tom to go with him. Because we had concerns about him making it around the field area,
Right.
so Tom jumped in. So I do know that Tom and Lenny did initially.
I do too, but the testing that they're dealing with right now
Yeah.
was the testing that Stephen and I did.
That's even better, because you're
Right.
still here.
That's right.
Right.
So
And Steve is still there.
That's right.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
All right, so Tom, I'd like to go back to your community service announcements. I think you only got 3 out of your 5.
I think we
No,
did
4.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, keeping track.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when's he gonna end? The last one is actually more local, it pertains to, amending cleanup, it's coming up. So we run the email thread.
Yes.
So basically, what's gonna happen is, Mendon's gonna do their annual cleanup. Apparently, it's a coordinated effort between Mendon and Upton. There is a contact in Upton that's gonna be the Upton cleanup coordinator, Lynn Haggerty. The dates are gonna be April 20th to May 4th. And the key groups involved, first of all, Custom Home Realty is offered again to use their facilities to kind of have the bags and gloves delivered to, use that as a distribution area.
That's nice.
So a big thank you to Deb Flanagan and Naomi. And then other groups that'll be involved, Men in Lions Club, Colleen Anke, who's the service chair, Jane Blackwood, she's the president, and Peter Cardoza, he's actually with the BBT Leo's Club.
Mhm.
Do you know what the Leo's Club is?
Yes, my daughter was part of that.
Well,
Yes, it's like the junior.
Lions.
Lions, right.
it's the junior, youth organizations,
Wow.
which I didn't know. That was pretty cool.
I said
Future
Lions.
Lions.
Yeah,
That's what a Leo is, a future lion.
yeah, the future. That gives an opportunity to do service, get some service points under their belt and do volunteering. That's pretty cool.
A lot of schools now are doing that, which I think is really important
That's awesome.
for them to do.
And we also have, Dan Byer from the Parks Commission's involved, John Dudley from the Highway Department, will be lending a hand. Ann Magar, is involved as well. Of course, our own Jack Republic.
Yay.
And that rounded out.
Not to toot my own horn, but I made my annual donation of trash bags on behalf of Allen's Services.
Oh, very nice. So we got
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
And pulled me in last year, and this year I just did it automatically, so the bags are coming any day.
Oh, nice, excellent.
So I'm the one who brings them over to Custom Home and to Highway and things.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the service.
well, part of, related to Board of Health, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I gotta support the team.
I'm gonna toot that one.
Toot toot.
There you go.
Beep, beep.
I wish I was gonna be 55.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know, huh? Be 55 again.
Me too.
All right,
I'm 45. So, you know.
A long way to go, Joyce.
any other community service announcements?
Not on my end.
All right. Outstanding old business, please.
I don't have any.
Kind of went over it all, I think, with the BOH Act.
No, absolutely. The only thing that I can think of, and it's related to Hartford Ave West. Tom and I touched on this because we were sort of reminded of it from 55. Couple doors down, the old Bud and Son Auto Body was a site that was brought to our attention by a neighbor. Both of these properties, the neighbor's property and Bud and Son Auto Body, the swamp is right there. So it's in that hollow. Bud passed away. So the widow has been left with the remnants of his business. And Tom Ryder, AJ, Tom, myself, we were all out there at the property, and we were talking with the widow.
Recently, is this recently?
No, this is, we're going back a ways, unfortunately. And there was a young gentleman that was helping her out.
Sorry, nephew.
Yeah, I believe he was from Uxbridge. He was, not from Mendon, but not too far away. And we did see a lot of movement in that property being cleaned up. But I don't think it was ever followed up on. And the cleanup, if you drive by, the cleanup definitely didn't get completed. So I think that's gonna be something that we may need to revisit.
Yeah,
Even
well,
though-
they did actually clean up very well, and it actually was really clean for a while. And then what started to happen is some things materialized again on the property.
Because were they using it as a business?
Yeah, they're running, Bud's Auto, he was a towing, he was one
Right,
of
yeah,
the premier tow companies
right.
right in the area, towed for everybody, police departments, whatever. So there were a lot of old cars, parts of cars. More specific concern with the drums. There's a ton of drums with different fluids, oils and stuff that was down around the back.
Because it was an auto body shop too, so
Right, yeah.
those common auto body chemicals
Yeah.
were most likely stored in those barrels. We didn't open any of the barrels up.
Right.
Where
they were positioned was down on conservation. And it's right behind where they are.
Okay.
So I think we need to revisit that.
I'll put some eyes on it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and Tom and I, when we spoke briefly about that address, it was only because it popped back in front of us. Just because we don't have a complaint current, doesn't mean that we can let that go on.
Yeah.
And it was obviously a momentous task for the widow, so we probably let some time go by where we could have probably seen a little more progress without.
Okay.
So we need to
Check up.
open that
Put some
up
eyes
again,
on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Check up.
and try to help her get to the finish line.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely, that's what we worked on, right?
She's still living there.
I'm sorry?
She's still living there.
She was, and in fact, the house next to her, they did a new septic system, very small lot, very tight, but they did a new septic system, maybe a new well, and renovated the property. But I mean, these houses are like
Oh, yeah.
right on top of each other, and if there's not ledge, there's swamp.
Yeah, right,
It's just that section of
right.
the road.
Right.
But we probably need to pull up some past information on that address.
Okay.
And then get it current. Good weather's coming.
Yep.
Maybe we can encourage her to
Yeah,
put
well,
one foot in front of the
So
other
is
again.
that the piece that there's Norman Rogers,
Yeah.
then going towards Uxbridge?
Right, right. After Norman Rogers, I think the house that I said they put a new septic system in and I believe a new well. And it was a very tight lot. The next one I think is Bud and Son.
Yeah, okay.
It's a light blue,
Yeah,
and I think Bud's Auto sign is still there on
I do believe so.
Yeah, and then right on there's a car and a trailer right on the curb right now.
Okay.
But there were, the old tow truck, there were things there that needed to be cleaned up along with the remnants of his business.
Right,
And again, very nice woman. We were just trying to advise her on
Right.
different avenues she could take to
Get rid of it.
get it squared away before there was a problem.
Well, it was more than an advisement, it was actually a directive. We told them they needed to clean it up.
That's why Jack should probably pull, if he can, any notes we have
No, do that.
on that address, along with, you'll probably come up with a complaint.
Okay.
And they did, it got cleaned,
Was
just a lot
that,
of
yeah,
material.
was
Oh,
it
yeah.
called Bud and Sons? Wasn't it called Bud and Sons?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, he was there forever, and, you know,
Right.
the rules were different back then, and,
Yeah,
you know, now he's not here to help her.
Right.
But it still needs to get done.
Okay.
In fact, the body shop section of the building, it was a fairly flat roof,
Yes,
and there wasn't much left to that structure as far as stability goes.
yeah.
And it's sort of attached to the basement of the house.
Okay.
It's an old property, you know, so there are many things that need to happen there, but the cleanup was probably the first thing that needed to happen. And then, I don't remember if we, sent anything to the building department.
I can't recall if we or Missy at the time connected with that side or not.
We'll advise them.
Because I mean, it's very possible after the cleanup that part of that structure may have to be disassembled.
Yep.
Just for everyone's safety.
Yeah, we'll take an eye on
Yeah, we'll take a look.
it. Yep. Do an assessment and then go from there.
So I'm trying, I think, other than the fact that, Jody and Eric still haven't set up a meeting with me for the, to decide what the indirect, or to discuss rather what the indirect costs
Mhm.
are. And I'm going back to work. It's my time.
I'm sure they're probably waiting for, maybe for the interim to get, you know, the new interim. I don't know. I mean,
It's
they're
been
running out,
crickets.
yeah, they're running out of budget time, so I'm sure that they'll get back to you.
Post 13 days.
Right, I would say within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I expressed the fact that I was very flexible when we started this in February or March.
Yeah.
And that was gonna come to an end.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take comfort in the fact that, as you pointed out, we can move forward with the request to create the enterprise fund, irrespective of any
Exactly.
agreement
Mm-hmm.
that we would want to have
Right.
in place. I know that's part of the outline in the DLS for the creation of the enterprise fund, but, because there may not ever be an agreement between what the different parties think should be applied to the cost of the program.
Right.
If it's just like an accounting thing, where they just want to allocate, like you said, moving, because we're moving money from the GF and just put it on paper, X amount of dollars, but with no expectation that there should be added costs
Excuse me.
to the subscribers for that portion,
Mhm.
based on what they want to try to apply. That's perfectly fine with me.
Next thing would be, any feedback on why Board of Health wasn't listed on the town warrant?
You remember this discussion we had yesterday?
Give me 1 second, Laura did respond to me this morning.
They'll just be overseas. That's all.
Yeah,
They'll
I
have
guess,
to get up when they'll move the article and then they'll probably defer to the Board of Health.
So Laura stated that most articles fall under the select board. The select board will be making the motion at the annual
Right.
town meeting. CPC and LUC read their own motions as their articles are using CPC funds.
Well, I will say in past, because we looked at some past warrants, that's hasn't been the general practice. Typically, you do see the various groups that have typically had requested the article have been listed under the article.
that's the way I remember it.
Right. So lately, and maybe there's a change in operation or policy, I am seeing quite a few on this one and on the last one, because we looked at 2023. Select board is listed under quite a few, where normally in the past, you would have seen something like FinCom or, so maybe there's a shift. And I just always thought, the government have thought that where the origination of the article was coming from, that would be the group that would be listed under the article. The expectation would be that group would be speaking.
Well, they will, it's just the Board of Selectmen, it's just a moving party, they're the presenter of the moving party of the article. Then they'll probably defer to the board, to Alan to get up to address the article. Basically, like I said before, that, you'll be explaining to the residents what the mindset is for the article. That's all it is. And it's also too, so that in the course of the town meeting, you don't have all these parties going back and forth. So the selectmen are the overseers of the general fund, and they're also the presenters of the articles, and then they'll defer to various committee or board or whatever for them to get up and educate the residents on the reason why the article is before them.
It may just be a mechanism for wanting to try to centralize the flow of communication possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember it the way you
Yeah.
describe it.
Yeah.
It was sort of whoever was sponsoring the warrant.
Yeah.
That's how it was listed. Lo and behold, when I turned my back, something changed for one reason or the
Just
other.
housekeeping, really.
So, I mean, I'm glad that it was questioned,
Yeah.
so that we know.
Mhm.
And maybe it's quite possible too, in the past, maybe there's been times when you couldn't get representatives for whatever reason at the ATM, to speak on that article.
Mhm.
And so it ended up going, somebody else ended up having to step in, so maybe they thought, well, let's start up front, because they're always got to be there, right? And then we'll go to the crowd, or to the groups, so.
All right, so I'll obviously need assistance.
Of course.
You want to know what to wear?
Nothing. Done that before, Tom. No, I think better than I speak.
Mhm.
So
You do a fine job.
I would like input from everyone. And I'll try to map it out in bullet point form so that I can spit it back out and sound as intelligent as possible.
Don't say
That
yourself
may be hard
short.
to do, so I don't think you
Well,
would.
thank you.
Right, I agree too.
Absolutely.
I feel as though something gets lost between here and here.
Well, it just, as you said, if you keep everything in sort of an order thing and don't lose your place.
There you go.
I've been there, done that.
I think those are the two things that I had in mind. Can't think of anything else at this time.
Everything else I think we covered.
All right, so topics not anticipated within 48 hours.
I get nothing.
Good and welfare for the board.
I like it. It's a new topic that Jack talked about. I love the idea.
That's all Colleen's idea.
Yeah. So,
You can actually take community service announcements and take that out, because it would fall underneath, like, good and welfare for the board.
right,
Where
it
you-
would
right,
be. Yeah,
right,
I would agree.
yep, you can take
Okay.
that, actually take that one out.
So I know it's brand new. I don't think anyone has any at the moment, but
Well, you sort of
other
hit it,
than, I did mine.
and
but
it,
She talked about,
Yeah.
could be something, some general thing or some other organization we're aware of that's doing something.
Yep.
But be prepared for the next.
Yeah.
I like it.
well, I like what you did because we see the emails, but the public doesn't see the emails.
For the most part, I think we all see them.
Mhm.
I don't Colleen sees them, I think you get them too, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things, a lot of it is only applied to the internal that we get. But every now and then you see something maybe for the general audience might have an interest. We can give a highlight and they can always go to whether they want to call the office or all this comes from mass.gov.
Right.
They can go up to mass.gov and get more details.
But I think it's nice that you mentioned those things,
Yeah, it's nice.
so thank you.
Oh, sure.
All right, folks. If there's nothing else, we can set the next meeting.
April 10th.
And Joyce, how's your golfing schedule? What's that kick in?
I don't start until, I think that it's the 1st of May,
Okay,
but it would be helpful to me if we could, again, do the 7:30 thing, because I'll try to get here as quick as tick.
all right. I'm gonna say this is probably the 10th would probably be the last meeting I can do at 6:30.
Well, would everybody like just to start the first meeting in April at 7:30?
Well,
I had no problem with
I don't
Well,
either.
that.
April
You want
10th,
to,
Yeah,
7:30?
why push it?
okay, I mean,
You're into a,
I was fine with going to 7 and then in May
Oh.
going to 7:30.
one would like.
Whatever.
Well, I mean,
Well, whatever works for you, right?
Yeah.
And for me, for right now, until I get to that other thing
Right.
going, it'll be May.
well, why don't we go to 7 for April and then
Okay.
from, in May, we'll go to 7:30?
Okay.
And that gives our families opportunity to adjust to our new schedules. How's that sound?
All right, so April 10th at 7 PM.
4, 10, 24, 7 PM.
In this conference room.
April, here.
Yeah, in the fishbowl.
I didn't want to say April.
Actually, that's what actually I put on my thing, meeting.
And thank you all for coming to my coach show. It was very, very successful.
It looked like a very successful show.
Yeah, I don't know
Yes.
exactly, we still haven't got figured out all the things, but the town, how many people that were there was unbelievable. Even in the last day, like, that we closed at 4.
Mhm.
I mean, at 3 o'clock, I think I had 20 people come in admissions, because I was in charge of admissions, and there were 20 people, and they said, you think we can do it? I said, well, you can do a good portion of it, and see, yeah, it was very,
All right, so we need I'm gonna interrupt you for that. We need a motion to adjourn.
nice if we adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
I,
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.